Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
I'm your host, Devin.
And I'm your host, Kendra.
We are real moms.
Sharing real experiences. The things people don't tell you.
Hey, mama. Hey, how you doing, friend?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain this week. So all is well.
Okay. Well, if this is your first time listening, I'm your host, Kendra.
And I'm your host, Devin. Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
Welcome.
So we have a guest today, y'all. And this guest is super special to me because she is my line sister. And y'all don't think I be hazing my line sisters to be on a podcast. That's one thing I want to say. Okay,
well, your whole line has been on here, Devin.
Right.
So I don't know.
I do love my line sisters, and I'm close to almost all of them. But Keisha and I are very close. We've been close for a very long time since we crossed. We have so much in common. We're both Leos. We're both just very loyal people and just down to earth. And we got you. If we don't have nothing else, we got you. We're going to support you. And Keisha's been that person in my life who's always been extremely supportive. We're each other's biggest cheerleaders. It's amazing to see her little boys grow up right before my eyes. And she's also a little sister to me because I am a little older. I'm not going to tell my age or hers, but we just always had that big sister, little sister vibe. And so to see her become a mom, it's just oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And then on top of that, she's a boss. She got all these degrees, y'all. She's killing it in her industry. She is an amazing mama. There's no cap on her. She's truly amazing. And she really, when you think of a Leo woman, it's Keisha. It's her. Textbook.
All right, Leo woman.
Yes.
The Leo woman, the lioness.
The lioness, rah.
Oh, no, friend. Let's we gonna edit that one out.
Okay. No, we gonna keep it. Don't be disrespecting my raw. I feel like I sound like Simba in The Lion King.
It's not even giving Nala. It's not giving Nala.
Like that, I would have been girl.
Yeah. So LaKeisha Jenkins, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you.
We are.
Thank you. I feel blessed to be here. I love this podcast. The women who have been featured on it, it's an amazing platform. So I feel honored to even be on it. So you ladies are killing it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Keisha. So Keisha, we always ask our mamas about their journey to mamahood. So if you can share yours, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so my journey. All right. So I have two small boys. They are 2 in diapers. I can't say 2 under 2 anymore because my oldest just turned 2 yesterday. So, but they're still quite young. They're 17 months apart. And when I first got pregnant with Cairo, it wasn't really planned. It was kind of we got pregnant, and which is a blessing and very thankful for. But I just remember being in this season of just going, like you said, Devin, just 50 miles or 100 miles per hour, doing all the things in my career. I was at the time getting my MBA at Duke. I was, just doing a lot. I was going up for a promotion at work, just all the things. I was serving on boards. And, when I got pregnant, my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'm in school. What am I how am I going to do this? And, of course, I just, did what I need to do and said, okay, I can do it. I can do it all. Women do it all the time. So that's kind of what I told myself, and ponied up and was still in school. I didn't stop while I was pregnant and while when I had him, and I was in class all weekend, making visits to Raleigh-Durham area to be there for my residencies with my cohort, all those types of things while pregnant. And then had him, was still in school, and came back to work. And I'll spare you the details in between that because I know that question's coming later, but went back to work, was getting back to myself, had just graduated and literally I think it was like a month later, because it was in June or July, found out I was pregnant again, y'all. So, and when I tell you, um, I don't know if there's a type, but I never thought I was the type to have two under two. Like, I think about women who have like back to back kids are like in my mind, like super moms who've always wanted to be moms. And that was just like, something that was in the plan. For me, it wasn't quite in the plan. I swear both of my boys were just like planned, unplanned, not really, just got pregnant. So, and I know that sounds silly because my mom always says, if you get pregnant, it's because you wanted to. So, hey, you know what to do if you don't want to. But no, so yeah, when I got pregnant with Kingston, it was like at another like, okay, all right. I have not even a 1 year old yet, and I'm in my new role now because I had ended up getting that promotion, and we had plans. We want to move. We had all these things kind of to do in our family, and here we are, kind of going back full circle again. So yes, shout out to all the 202 mamas and the mamas of boys because it's a journey.
Indeed, it
That's
is.
funny. I definitely feel your pain. I had a short stint when I had two under two, and it was not fun. I did that for 2 months, and yeah, it wasn't fun. It was real ghetto, but you will get through it. They will be potty trained at some point. You won't have to buy diapers. Just try to enjoy it. I know that sounds crazy, but the time flies. Like the
No, it's
time
only
really flies. And I noticed that when I get those time lapse pictures from the iPhone when they say this memory, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you were that little because you forget.
you really do.
And you're like, oh my gosh, where's my baby? So
Your baby's jumping from couch to couch now.
pretty much Spider-Man for real, for real. So but if this is your first time listening, Kendra and I are very intentional with most of our episodes. Like, it has to make sense. And a lot of times we'll look at the calendar and look at the month and see what's going on that month, what awareness months are happening, those type of things. So October is National Depression Awareness Month. And so Keisha has been very open about her postpartum depression and her journey. And we've never had a full episode about postpartum depression. We've talked about it vaguely with some moms, but we never really got in depth with it. So we thought Keisha would be a very good person to interview to talk about her journey with postpartum depression. And of course, she was very open to it. So we do have a lot of questions geared towards that. And so, Keisha, knowing you for so long and then seeing you in your journey, and I remember I would check on you often because that's one thing I felt like when I was pregnant, outside of like Ken and stuff, I didn't really have anybody checking on me. Like, how you doing? Everybody want to know about the baby, what you having, and all this other stuff, but nobody's really checking on you, right? And so when you were pregnant, you would always text. And it was like after you had the baby, you would go weeks, days, months. And I'm like, is she okay? And, as a friend, you don't want to pry. And especially as a mom, you don't want to pry because you never know what someone is going through. But I just left it very open. Like, if you need me, let me know. I got you, girl. And it was times you would pop in and be like, hey, I have a question about this. And I'll be happy to answer the question. Or, can you talk? Do you have a moment? But I knew something wasn't right, right? And then when you finally told me, I was like, this makes so much sense. So again, I didn't want to pry, and I'm thankful that you felt comfortable enough to share your journey with me and talk to me and let me know what you were going through. Maybe not in that moment, you didn't feel comfortable, but you did let me know. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And I just felt so much gratitude in knowing that you saw me as a person you could share that with. So any mama who may be going through postpartum depression or may have experienced it or maybe even have baby blues, can you talk about your experience? What some of your signs? How did you even know?
Yeah.
What did that
So
look like for you?
yeah, so it's interesting because when you just told me that, I have the same look when people kind of remind me of that period. I had no idea that those were the actions and the behaviors I was displaying. So I've had friends say, girl, like, I thought I did something wrong because you kind of faded to black. Like, you never invited me over. I didn't think like you wanted me around. And I'm like, I have the same look on my face because I'm like, wow, that time in my life it's almost like a very gray period of like, I was a shell of myself. I don't even recognize, that person. But so I would say, interesting enough, I actually did not know I had postpartum depression when I had it. I didn't know until I got pregnant again. Okay,
Gotcha.
so here's the journey. So I had displayed these symptoms of postpartum depression after I had Cairo, and I'll get to what that looked like. But I eventually, once I got back to work and kind of poured myself into other areas of my life, I kind of started getting back to myself. But when I got pregnant again, all those hormones and all that fear and all those things, anxiety, like hit me like a ton of bricks very, very quickly. And it was very mixed emotions being pregnant again. And that sparked kind of this perinatal kind of depression now, right? So the whole time I had never seen a therapist, but at this point, I'm like, okay, something is not right. I'm pregnant again and I'm starting to feel these feelings. And I knew something was off. I explained it to a friend before that it's almost like if you have a cold and you keep blowing your nose, you keep, drinking tea, how you have these symptoms, but you just keep nursing yourself, thinking you're going to like, oh, I'll get back to health. But you never truly go to the doctors. You never really figure out what is wrong with me. And it could be worse or maybe not than what you think, but you just never officially go. So that was me, like, okay, like I'm going to do these little things to try to make myself feel better, but I never knew. And then I went to therapy, and she told me I had postpartum depression, that I also had PTSD from my birthing experience because I had a traumatic birth. After having Cairo, I was hospitalized a couple days after having him, and we were separated. And I didn't know any of those things. I felt relief because I'm like, okay, now this explains why things were the way they were, because I had nothing to compare it to. I was a first time mom. I didn't know. Um, but when I look back and I think about those signs and behaviors, it was definitely what you just mentioned earlier. It was kind of this feeling of isolation. You know me, like you were talking about being a Leo earlier. I'm very social, like very. It's hard to catch me on the phone sometimes. I'm not a phone person, Devin, but like I want to chit chat, engage, FaceTime, like, and a lot of my closest friends hadn't heard from me. I was kind of just in my own little like hole. And then I would say the biggest thing were the thoughts, like the self-doubt, the insecurities, just the feeling of like this loneliness, and like I just remember thinking to myself, you're not good at this. You're not like, look at like all these other moms like get it, right? They can do all these things and they're picking it up so much easier. And I felt like I was just like struggling. And with Cairo, he had a lot of digestive issues. So he was fussy, gassy, and this boy could cry. What I tell you, like, we were just like, what in the world? And I used to be like, oh my gosh, is he colic? And Kevin was like, my husband was like, he's not. But in my mind, I was like, he really would cry a lot. And I just remember this feeling of hopelessness because I could never soothe him to get him to stop crying. And my husband would. Other people would. My mom would come over and she'd be like, oh, what, baby? Look at me. It's not a big deal. Like, she would just quickly just get him to calm down. And I would be looking like, oh my gosh, like I'm his mother. Like I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this? And then it turned into every evening, a lot of moms know about witching hours. Ooh, or that 5 to 8 p.m., whatever stretch, where kids just naturally, babies start to just flare up that fussiness and irritability. And I just remember that it would be dark out and the sun would go down and my anxiety would start, my whole mood, everything would just like, I'd shut down. And, my husband would be like, you okay? like, you good? But he needed to get his rest, so he'd be up in the morning so he could do his shift. And I was just like fading, like on the couch, just panicked, panicked. And that's not like me. Normally, even if I don't know something, I'm gonna go in, 2 feet flat on the ground, firm, and just dive into whatever the situation is. But motherhood at that time, as a first time mom, humbled me in a way that I had never expected. I'd be so vulnerable and really helpless in a lot of ways. So that was a big thing. And also just being like, I know a lot of first time moms, you're already just super cautious, careful, anxious about a lot of things. But for me, it felt like times 10, and then I was used to being in school. So I was very type A, like with my mothering experience, just clocking everything on the app, doing everything by the book. Like, no, he has to get this much. And it was just like too much. And I look back, I'm like, gosh, like I was doing the most. Like that was a lot. So
All
yeah.
moms struggle. I've
Yeah.
never met a mom who has not struggled. And if there is a mom who says that she doesn't or hasn't struggled, I would really question, like, that has to be far from the truth, because
Right.
especially like being a first time mom, there are so many things that you're not used to. There is
Mm-hmm.
nothing anyone can say or do to prepare you for parenthood. Your
Mm-hmm.
mom could be living in the same house as you and
Mm-hmm.
raised you from birth to whatever, and there's nothing that anyone can do to prepare you for this journey, because it is an everlasting journey.
Yeah.
um it, and
Absolutely.
you said you were away from your son. You were hospitalized after you gave birth, and you were away from him for a little while or a short time. Can you share why you were
Yeah.
hospitalized?
Yeah. So I later realized one of the triggers of the postpartum was likely due to my complications post birth. So I developed postpartum preeclampsia a few days after going home. Well, I had only been home for 2 days, and my blood pressure was sky high. It was in the severe range. And I had started displaying symptoms of preeclampsia, like a probably been one of the worst headaches I'd ever had in my life. I felt just like dizzy, like
Mhm.
I just couldn't walk from the bed to the bathroom. I just felt bad, bad. And you anticipate you're not going to feel your best after having a baby, but this just felt different. And
Mhm.
I did have a doula when I had both my boys, and my doula when I had Cairo was the one who identified that I need to take my blood pressure and I need to call my doctor. And thankfully, she told me that, because when I checked my pressure, it was really, really high. And my doctor was very concerned, brought me back into the hospital, and I had some treatment there. But at the time, you have to remember too, like, let's see, I had Cairo in 2021, so it was at the tail end of COVID, but COVID precautions were still being met. So
Mhm.
I couldn't have him with me in the hospital. I couldn't really have visitors. I could only have Kevin. So I couldn't have, any family, my parents or anyone. So I was literally in the hospital bed by myself, wondering if my baby's okay. I'm trying to pump. They're telling me to keep pumping because you gotta, like, don't stop or it's
Mhm.
gonna mess you up. So that was a big probably gap in my experience. And while it was only less than a week that I was there, that's a couple of days that you're without your newborn. Like,
Yeah.
your newborn, when you first have a newborn, a couple fresh out a couple days, they belong right here on your chest. They need to hear your heartbeat. You need to know that they're okay, and they need to know, be able to be with you. And I remember just coming home from the hospital feeling like a couple days felt like weeks, like months, because it felt like, what have I missed? I got my husband and family telling me what my child likes. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, yeah, he's not gonna like that. You might want to give him this. But I'm like, it's my baby, you know? So I
Mhm.
felt like I had missed something. And then, I'm like, okay, and just tried to pick up from there. But I just didn't realize that between that, the stress from school, hormones, let's not forget, like a lot of postpartum depression and mental health is triggered by just hormones that you can't control as
Mhm.
well. Those things in combination, there you go. So, yeah.
Yeah. I had preeclampsia with my son, but it was before I gave birth to him, and I was hospitalized for a month before having him. So I could not leave the hospital until I had him, and he was in the NICU for 2 weeks after I had him because he was premature. So while I don't understand the post preeclampsia side, well, in some ways I do because of the process that you have to go through to regulate your body, but I can only imagine or I understand how you feel in that space. So it's very taxing on you mentally and physically. And the fact that you had to be away from him while you're trying to get yourself together, which is hard because you're worrying about your child while also trying to get yourself together. So, sending all love and hugs to mamas who are experiencing preeclampsia because it is very serious, and sending you warm and happy thoughts of comfort and love because you're going to get through it. You are.
It's really good. Yeah, and I think sometimes we get caught up like in social media, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you see these moms doing all these things, and I think it's getting better with moms keeping it real. Like, this is hard. Like,
Mm-hmm.
these toddlers are
Terrible.
they're, they're terrible.
We love
They are
them, but
they are traumatizing. Like, they will traumatize you. And honestly, and I've been very upfront about this, like, I do not like the newborn stage. And I do not feel bad for saying that. It is taxing. You're leaking, you're bleeding, your hormones
tired,
all over the place, you're
can't
tired,
eat
you're
in
irritable,
peace.
you're fussy. Jared called me fussy one time and we got in an argument about that. And it's just like you cannot get a grip. Like, those first 3 months are hell. And as
Yeah.
much as you want to enjoy your baby, and you do, right? You do. It's like you have those moments of joy, but it's a lot of moments of chaos. And you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, what is going on? Like, this can't be real. Like, nobody else is experiencing this. Nobody else baby is having a witching hour. Well, in fact, it's very common. Drew went through that
Mm-hmm.
shit too. And when I tell you, when you said when first of all, this is why I thought Drew was gonna be my only one, because that boy put me through hell. Okay, he was textbook everything, and I thought he was colic. I tried to take him back to the doctor too.
Be dramatic. We be
I
real.
said I said something wrong with this baby because ain't nothing working. He
Stop calling. Sorry, I had the doctor check it out and everything. She was like,
right.
"No." I'm like, no.
Nothing.
Girl, when you
He's just
talking
crying.
about when you said your baby didn't sleep, yes, your baby cried and had the high pitched scream. He still cried with a high pitched scream. Didn't sleep, hit every single sleep regression there was. Started sleeping through the night at the age of 4. When I tell you, I've been there, girl. Like, I've
Yeah.
been there. And, and I think that's the reason why we started this podcast too, because it was so much false sense of reality. And it's like, no, like, you could be a happy mom, but you can also keep it real. Like,
Right.
this ain't for the faint heart. And if you don't want kids, don't do it, because you're not going to be happy. And
Yeah.
as much as they're my pride and joy, and I love my boys and I wouldn't trade them for the world, but
Yeah.
you have to want this in
Yeah.
order to be like sane at some point, you
Yeah, and
know?
love yourself.
and,
To love
and love
yourself.
yourself. You really
Yeah.
have to love yourself, because I don't know how to explain it. Like, you really
Yeah.
can't put it into words. You kind of have to experience it, but you have to want this. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
just like Two, like, having a supportive partner helps, having a village helps. Those things do help, but sometimes you still just feel alone. Like
No,
when I couldn't produce milk for Drew because I had a traumatizing experience as well, and I'm sitting at the pump and literally drops are coming out, and I'm like, how am I going to feed my baby? Because I felt this pressure of
right.
I'm a failure because I cannot feed my child literally, and I have to give him formula. So when you were talking to me about, oh, like, I don't know, like, he's still fuss, give him the formula, girl. I'm gonna be the mama to tell you a fed baby is the best baby. Don't kill yourself trying to make more milk. If you got to supplement, if you got to mix, if you got to do every other bottle, do what you have to do that's going to work, because people will breastfeed your child you to death, and then you feel like you're in a failure because you can't produce the milk. So
Absolutely.
I hope people
do
aren't
it,
still doing that. I
girl.
really hope.
Listen, I
Them
mean,
Facebook groups.
it is like, and that's the thing. So the beauty about having kids back to back is that, I had my experience with Cairo that was rough postpartum, but then the blessing was I had King right after, and totally different experience. The experience that it should have been. And it was the experience I wanted it to be. And one of those things, on the topic of just breastfeeding and feeding your child, was that with Cairo, I remember being so just hard on myself about, I didn't want to break down and get formula. I was measuring every ounce that he got. I was putting things in the app. Like, I was so type A about it. Y'all, when I had my second, I said, listen, this baby gonna get what he want. Like, whatever he want, gonna get. Like, and if I'm not making it, we gonna mix it up. We gonna do whatever he wants.
Right.
Guess what? That baby is chunky and happy now. He got rolls for days because he is fed and happy. And it's just like, I just knew. And another thing is, I just personally didn't like nursing. Everybody's different. Some women, mothers love nursing, hate pumping. I'm kind of, I think, an anomaly because I actually liked pumping. I know sometimes like moms are like, what?
Yeah, I'm that mom. That's like, what?
Tell you why I actually preferred pumping, because it was so painful. Nursing was so painful for me. Probably even worse for my second, but it was so painful. And then the second thing is, and then I realized it's kind of like something I realized later psychologically. Remember, I told you everything I told you after having Cairo. I remember pumping. I felt accomplished. I felt like, and I did produce well after I gotten into my rhythm. Started filling up, my pumps, and I had my pumping on timed out. Like, I knew when I needed to pump, and I actually liked that because it gave me routine. Having like, an infant, that they run your schedule. You don't know what's coming next. And when I pumped, I knew that was the one thing I almost like had control of. I was like, okay, I'm pumping on my, like, when I know I need to pump. And I don't know, that was just me. But, and then it happened the second too. I was like, all right, nursing isn't working for much longer. I did it for like a month and a half. And then I like to be on the go when I can. So I also like that flexibility and freedom. So if I need to go run and get my nails done or do something, I just found that pumping gave me that little bit of freedom back, but I didn't produce as much with King because I didn't keep up with it as much. So I had to supplement with formula, and he was fine. Like,
He's fine.
You're gonna be fine.
He was
You have
fine.
to do what works for you and your family.
He was calmer. He was great. Like,
Hey y'all. So y'all know when we find out something, we like to share, right?
Yes.
So we are podcasters. I won't say we vets in the game, but we're not super new, and we're always learning about new things to enhance our audio, our video, and we came across Riverside.
Yes. We were introduced to this platform from a fellow podcaster, and we were previously using a platform that we thought was good, but it was just okay. The outcome was just okay. So we were introduced to this platform, and we have thoroughly enjoyed Riverside.
Yes, absolutely. The audio is much clearer. It doesn't give you that like, oh, I'm on a virtual recording.
Platform.
Yeah. It's pretty relative easy to use, especially for us. If we can work it, anybody can work it. And then it also uses AI to help you like edit your videos and give you magic tools and give you little captions you can create on Instagram and social media. So it's really helpful and we highly recommend it.
Yeah. So check out Riverside if you're in the podcast world, or even if you are in the virtual world with classes or conferences, any sorts of virtual platforms. Riverside is a great tool to put in your pocket.
So check the link in our bio. So, what's your second king? Did you experience any baby blues, any postpartum depression, and how did you? So, it seems like you were diagnosed after you found out you were pregnant with King. So, did you go to therapy while you were pregnant with King? And what did that look like for you? Do you think you're healed? Do you feel like you're healed? Is it still a journey? And do you have any of those thoughts or feelings the second time around?
Right. Okay. So I'll tackle the first question first. I don't forget. No, I did not have postpartum depression or anxiety after I had Kingston. I had the most beautiful postpartum experience, and I'm thankful for that. And that was a huge part of my healing. But to take a step back into your next question around therapy, yes. So I had started therapy when I was pregnant with Kingston because I was starting to feel those symptoms again. I'm like, not happy. Like, why am I feeling like this? And now I'm even more so anxious because I don't want to experience this again. Like, what if I get postpartum again? So those were some of the things that were on my mind. So speaking to someone regularly, and she specialized in maternal mental health, that did wonders because she was able to affirm me and to give me that space to process everything that I had been through, versus just kind of keeping it internalized. Because any mom knows you push through because you have a child who needs you and you often neglect yourself. So whatever I was feeling, I was just internalizing it. Like I would tell people my birth story because I have another part of my birth story, like how I actually delivered Cairo with no doctor in the room and all this stuff. And it was like, just a blatant, like, okay, experience, that and Black maternal health, we often get neglected. I had one of those stories the first go round. Thankfully, I had a doula, but all of those things kind of like tumbled into each other and I had never processed it. Never. And I would tell the story, but like I never really understood the effect that it had on me. So having that space to do that in therapy helped. Recognizing the tools that I needed to tap into to start feeling like myself again helped. And the reason I say helped was because through that whole journey, I didn't just go to therapy and it was like that. No, it was a rough pregnancy. I'm not gonna lie. Like Cairo, when I was pregnant with my first, I had the most easygoing pregnancy. Like you wouldn't even think I was pregnant. Like I was just like, I was traveling for work. I was, like you said, I'm texting all the time, fully myself, no issues. It didn't hit me until after. And then I had my second during my pregnancy. It was rough. It was really rough. So I was working through those feelings again, trying to find the right care team because I was traumatized from the first experience I had in the hospital. So I wanted to make sure my OBGYN was there. My obstetrician was there to deliver him because she wasn't last time and it left me in that vulnerable situation. So I remember breaking down, crying in her office, telling her what I had gone through. And she cried with me. And she just said, Keisha, I had no idea that you went through that. I had no idea. I had no idea. And she was literally tearing up. And she said, I have always known you to be like spunky, talking like yourself. And I was a shell of myself, even pregnant, talking to her about it because I had left the practice and said, I don't want anything to do with this practice because of that experience I had. And the only reason I came back was I said, you know what, it's not her fault. She probably didn't know. And that's when I told her. But I was in my third trimester at that point. So, yeah, it was not overnight. And then One of the things that I did do for myself, though, that I will always appreciate is, and you know this, Devin, like, I used to always do my retreats, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about, like, wellness and just finding that time for yourself. That is a big, big part of my self-care and who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, as crazy as it sounds, I was 8 months pregnant, and I used to do these retreats and things for the new year because I love the new year. I love bringing it in the right way. So I told my husband, I'm like, listen, like, I want to do a solo little trip by myself. And, I didn't do it on New Year's exactly like I wanted because I didn't want to neglect my family. But I was looking,
That damn family.
Can't
not
have my
neglect
me
my
time.
I said, you know what? All right, I'm gonna go the next weekend. And I was like, don't worry, I won't go far. I'm gonna go to a bed and breakfast that I went to about 3 years ago. It's 2 hours away in Maryland, and I went there. And I just had my own like solo little spiritual retreat with myself. I told myself, I wasn't gonna have technology really. I wouldn't be on my phone. I brought my Bible, brought my journals. I was just, watching sermons, praying, and just enjoying time with myself, bonding with my baby and talking to God. And that is when I finally had my breakthrough spiritually, because all that time before that, I'm telling you, y'all, like, I was at that point when I was pregnant with Kingston, I was on my knees begging God to give me answers. Why am I going through this? Because I had never dealt with, I didn't even know like how to identify with somebody who had depression. I didn't know. And it makes me want to hug my loved ones tighter who have dealt with, or are still dealing with any mental illness, because you just don't, it's not something you can control. And like any illness, whether physical or mental, you are you are humbled, you are vulnerable, you are at your knees just praying for God to heal and to be there with you. And that's kind of the space I was in. But when I took that trip, I finally kind of got that answer back. And that was, I brought you to your knees to give you perspective. Because one day you're going to end up sharing this story. And y'all, like, I didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
Devin, in so many, how many times did I text you kind of trying to back out of it, like slightly, like, so like I was trying to find every reason in the world to not do this, but I had to remember what God told me I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, to share this and to give me insight and understanding. And the beautiful part of it all is when I had Kingston, I remember when I delivered him and I pushed him out, I was bawling, but it was this crying of not pain or anything. It was just like this release of like everything that I had gone through. I knew when I had him that that storm and that period of my life was coming to an end. I just knew it. And it was
Mm-hmm.
true, because from that day forward, I have not struggled with the things that I was struggling with. Now, granted, you deal with your normal like, sleep deprivation and, just being hard on yourself, just those things. But as far as the place that I was in, like, no. And I always, I call him my little angel baby, because he really stuck with me while I was pregnant, giving me the strength that I needed. And he's still, like my little angel. And, um, with him, after having him as an infant, yes, the newborn stage was hard, but this time I got to just appreciate it and enjoy it. And I got the experience I didn't have before. So he truly is a gift in that way. And it made me a better mom just in general with both boys, with Cairo and with him. So it all kind of came full circle. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
To
good.
therapy, you had your toolbox of ways to care for yourself. You took that solocation, which seems to be that the turning point for you getting back to Keisha. So your angel baby. Bless him and bless you and your family. So Keisha, I have a question about building back your sense of community. So I'm sure your family and friends were aware, or at some point they felt that Keisha's not herself. I mean, Devin shared that early on in the conversation, and you had to get back to building or reconnecting with those family and friends. And if there is a mom who is experiencing postpartum depression and she doesn't really know how to reconnect with her family or friends, and she's trying to get out of this, I guess, bubble of isolation, what advice would you give to her?
Yeah, you know what? I would say even that is still a process. I'm not even I could sit here and say I'm 110% back to my old self. No, I still get a little social anxiety, just a little bit. It's not that as
Mm-hmm.
bad. But for instance, one of my best friends from fam, y'all both know her. She lives in Atlanta. Um, she also has
Hey,
a
girl.
child. Her and her family came to visit this weekend to stay with us for Cairo's birthday. And leading up to them coming, I was feeling this like anxiety, and that's not me. And I'm just like, but I'm just not used to being as social as I was. So even those moments can be hard. But once she was here, I was like, okay, like, every it's cool. But I do have to push myself because, even moments like today and doing this, I want to talk myself out of it. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I really want to do it. Um, I have friends that I grew up with, that childhood friends that live close by in the area, and they'll want to hang out, drop by. Once again, I will come up with excuses, and they will just be like, nah, I'm already down the street. So, and I'm just, and then once they're here, I'm good. But that was never me. So it is a process and a journey still, even with that, with like, because just in general, regardless of postpartum depression, motherhood can kind of absorb like into your life to the point where you're just like, I don't think I have enough, you know, conversation and laughs to give my girl right now because my mind
Yeah.
is just not there.
Yeah.
And I have to push past that. But I would say, like, as a little tip for the mom who is like, all right, how do I kind of like just push myself to get back to feeling like myself? Connect with the mom. Connect with the friend who's not a mother. Because this is what would happen. My friends who had children too, or most of my kids like just had a baby like I did. All you do is talk about motherhood a lot of the
Yeah.
times. You talk about your babies, you compare. Oh, my kid is breastfed this long, mine this long. Oh, is he crawling it? Or you're just constantly talking about, the baby and motherhood and all that. The times that I felt most like myself was connecting with I have a really close best friend who does not have kids, and nobody brings me back to myself like she does. And you know who she is too, that I'm my sister. And we actually just talked before this because I'm going to talk myself out of this. But she has this way of reminding me of just being Keisha, not Keisha the mom, but just being me. So we laugh
Hmm.
different. Our conversations sound different because it's not all surrounding motherhood. And I'm telling you, like, that's the trick. Sometimes if
Yeah.
I just want to kind of feel like myself, like that's my bestie that I call.
I
I
love
think
that.
it's hard for moms to become social again after they have a
Mm-hmm.
baby. I know
Mhm.
I'm not as social as I was before I had
Mhm.
Eli, and
Yeah.
he'll be 4 soon.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a layer of anxiety or what. I have no clue, but it's almost like you have to find yourself again as like
Mhm.
Kendra the mom. It's like I hope
Right.
nobody's coming to talk to me about motherhood because I want to talk about something else. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
Keisha. So I
Yeah.
think that was a really good tip or idea to connect with people who aren't going through the same thing you're going
Yeah.
through, just so that
Yeah.
you can be reminded of who you were before you had a kid. Because she
Mhm.
still lives in you, right? And she needs to come out in some way. So I completely understand how you feel there with just having that layer of anxiety when it comes to being social because It's still
Yeah.
hard, at least for
Mhm.
me. I'm really not as social as I used to
You
be
almost feel
at
Yeah.
all.
you feel like
It
Yeah.
does feel awkward.
Mhm.
yeah,
It
and
really does.
I don't know why. Even with other moms, like it's just I can't explain it. It's yeah, I agree.
Well, I
Yeah,
feel you, girl.
you get stuck in this routine, right?
Yeah.
And I was just talking to another line sister the other day, like, because Jared is getting ready to leave, and if you know me, you know I'm always preaching about schedules. Get the schedule. If you stay on this schedule, you're gonna be good because everybody know what to expect. But
Yeah.
lately, I've been having feelings of I don't want to do the schedule. It's just so redundant, and I'm just so sick of it. Like I'm sick of the schedule, and I know it's gonna save me, and I still go by the schedule because it's good for the boys. But I
Yeah.
have this resistance almost to the schedule, right? And so it makes no sense because I guess I want some spontaneity, and so I think that's what I'm struggling at because it's like the same thing. Every Friday, I'm ordering my groceries. Every Saturday morning, I'm picking them up.
Yeah.
On Sunday, I am cooking my groceries after church. And it's just like,
You
I
become a
am
whole new
sick of
person.
it. Right. I'm like, I feel like a damn robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, if I don't do my schedule, I'm going to spiral for that whole week because nothing is planned, right? So I think that comes with some of that social anxiety because you have so much you have to do. You have so many boxes you have to check. You have to make sure your family's okay. Then you feel bad for leaving your kids. Even though they're with their daddy, you still feel bad and you have this guilt. Oh, did he give them the right food? Did he bathe them the way I would bathe them? Did he do this? Did he do that? So you can't even enjoy yourself because you're so busy
Worried
over
about your
there when
kids.
you should be over here. So yeah. So I think we definitely need to give ourselves grace. I think hanging out with and talking with friends who don't have kids is actually a really good idea. So thank you for that tidbit. And I just want to say kudos to your friends who just show up. Like I'm that friend who don't care. You told me not. Kendra could be going through something. She's like, I don't feel like. I'm gonna call you till you answer the phone.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't like to be bothered. If something's
she don't
wrong,
like to be funny.
I will just.
I would
Right.
call. I would call her. I would call her husband. I'll drive to Atlanta if I have to. So it's
Right.
just like sometimes you need those friends though because you can't get in the shell.
Absolutely.
You feel like you can't show emotion or you can't be vulnerable because you're so used to being tough and not showing emotion and being this strong person. It's like no, there's beauty in vulnerability. There's beauty in those tears. It's healing when you cry, and I'm gonna be that person and be like, I don't care if you're crying. Ugly cry all you want to. I'm still coming over. So kudos to those friends who's popping up on you because
Yeah.
you don't realize how much you need that until you have it, right?
Absolutely.
And then you just realize, oh, I am okay. Like I was just having this anxiety about this issue, but it's really nothing. Like at the end of the day, these people that's popping up on you, they're family. They're no longer friends. They're family. So
Right.
they're going to see you at your worst and they're going to see you at your highs, but you still need them to show up. And so anyone who's listening who's not a mother yet, but have friends that are moms, show up for your mom friends. Even
Yeah.
if she's being difficult, just show up for her because
Yes.
it really helps us. And sometimes we need someone to reel us back in and have us stop and pause. I'm like, girl, you all right? F them kids. We need to say F them kids sometimes.
Yeah.
We really do. We really do. And I'm telling you, I always say the best moms say F them kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
you have to.
You have to literally say it out loud because
Yeah.
you are so engulfed in them that
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta say no. They will be fine. They'll
Yeah.
They will, and they know you love them, and you know you love them. But you
Yeah.
gotta love you too.
Yep.
You do.
I gotta put me first, Lucius. I gotta put me first. Well, Keisha, this was a really good conversation. I really do appreciate your vulnerability. I
Yes, indeed.
appreciate all the tips that you've given our moms who may be listening or our new moms who may be listening. And thank you just for sharing your story. Seriously. It was really
It's needed.
heartfelt. Yeah, I need it.
It's needed.
So now it's time for some mama juice.
Yeah, I need me a sip.
Yes, absolutely.
Even
I'm
though
not-
y'all see me drinking my water.
It gets the mama juice.
I know. I'm not drinking right now. Yeah, I'm not
Right.
drinking right now, so I will be observing, but y'all
Okay.
enjoy.
Yeah, I'm also.
Now, I've adopted that lingo because I'll be sipping my wine, and of course, like Cairo's at the age where he wants to drink everything I'm
Yeah.
drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, baby, that's mama juice. Mama
Yeah.
juice?
Yeah, they know mama
Yes,
juice.
they know mama juice. They
They
sure
know.
do. They know not to touch mama juice.
Say, mommy, is that your juice? Yes, don't
Yes.
you even
Don't.
think about touching my juice.
Only mama.
I'm drinking water too. I'm not drinking. I'm trying not to drink alcohol during the week. But Keisha, your drink is actually a sangria, which is another reason why I'm not drinking it, because it needs time to sit. So, yes. So, since we are in the month of October, we're speaking about depression awareness in this month. I figured we would make a fall drink. So, this is like a fall sangria. And Keisha has shared that she likes wine. She did send us 2 wines that she likes. She likes red wine, she likes white wine. And the white wine she selected was a Sauvignon. I can never say this freaking wine.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Y'all, they said it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And Keisha's drink is called It's a Journey, because she has shared her journey. And I don't know, when I think of fall, like, I always think of this like beautiful autumn field with trees and like a trail, and it's like a journey to get to the other side. I know I got a little too deep, but anyways,
Get deep, girl.
it's a journey. And what it has is our white wine that I cannot pronounce. And it has 1/4 cup of orange liqueur. It has 2 cups of apple cider. Vodka is optional. If you don't drink vodka or you don't drink liquor, you don't have to add it, but it is optional. And it has apples, oranges, cinnamon sticks, cloves, and star anise. All of that mixed together and settled overnight. I would suggest you settle it overnight so that it can be nice and refreshing the next day. If you are a mama to be or you do not drink, which is totally fine, we have a mocktail version. And it's all of those ingredients, but it is a white sparkling grape juice, and you use non-alcoholic triple sec instead of orange liqueur. So that is It's a Journey, and it's our fall sangria that is inspired by Keisha and her journey. We love you,
Love
Keisha.
it. Love it. Love it.
Love it.
So if this is your first time listening, we also have another segment called Mama's Corner. So Mama's Corner is our opportunity to connect with our guests further, as well as our listeners. So typically our listeners will write us in via email or send us a DM or a text. And we kind of discuss it further with our guests. So we did have a question for Mama's Corner, and I thought it was so fitting for this episode because we're all boy moms. And so a boy mom asked me, she asked, how do we keep our femininity in a house full of testosterone? So
That is a
I
really
thought that
good
was
question.
a really good question. And I kind of stumbled a little bit, but I'll go first because it's it took me back a little bit. So I'll give you some time to think since I had time to think on it. But I really told her, I was like, you know what? I really take advantage of them having their dad. So right now they're in between like being mama's boys and daddy's boys, right? They come to me for all the nurturing and stuff like that. But when they want to throw the football, they want to ride their bikes, they not calling me because one, they know I don't like to be out in the heat. So they'll call their dad, and I really take advantage of those moments when they're not in the house. So I'll light a candle. I'll do something that makes me feel girly. I'll do a mask. Not that I'm saying these things are only for women, but it just makes me feel more like the woman of the house in that moment. And if the boys want to join me in doing a mask, that's totally fine. Or I make sure I keep my nails up, my hair done, things like that to make me just feel like I'm not one of the boys, because it's easy to feel that way when you're in a house full of boys and men. Everything is Spider-Man. They got me dressing up as Spider-Woman. Just all kind of, and I love the fact that they incorporate me, but it is hard to like be like, okay, I'm the woman of the house, because I fall into the things that they like to do. And they even try to rustle me sometimes. And like when I wrestle back, like someone always gets hurt. Like I always do it wrong. And Jared's like, you don't do it like that. And I'm like, you know what? This ain't for me. So those are some of the things I try to do. I try to make sure the house smells good as well. Just try to put my touch on different things. As far as like furniture, I've given up on my house like looking very nice at this point in time. Maybe when they're 6 or 8, somewhere around there, I'll revisit decorating my house over. But right now it is what it is. So
Keisha, you can go ahead and answer that question. I'll go last.
Dang, like all of her tips are things that I lean into and do naturally as well. So I don't even know if I have too much that's different. I hear you on taking advantage of your husband. And mine, he actually naturally started doing this. It'll be like that. Y'all know about that time right after school, daycare, in between bedtime. It's like the most chaotic slash what in the world time. You're tired, the kids hungry. It's just a lot going on. And never mind if you're cooking and trying to get the house together. So what he'll do is he'll take the boys on a walk. And even if I'm cooking or I'm just straightening up the downstairs, same as you, Devin, I light that candle. I put my Spotify on. I play my vibe playlist. I get my glass of wine and I just have a moment. And he even set like affirms that. He's like, all right, y'all, come on, let's go. Give mommy her time. Give mommy her time. And it may be only like 45 minutes, but those 45 minutes matter. You know, or he'll go in the basement and play with them if they don't go out. And then I would say just like keeping up with my beauty appointments, which is not really a good example right now because the way this hat is hatting right now and my nails are getting a break right now. But for the most part, I do try to keep up with my appointments. Yeah, like anybody who knows me knows, like I've been about that spa life, that massage life, okay? Like facials. It's certain things that I think everyone has their guilty pleasure and like will spend on. That's me. And I've tried to still keep that up because you could easily end up in a baseball cap and sneakers every day with boys. So
yeah,
for sure.
I think y'all have similar responses as me. I like even our dog is a male. I asked Jonathan, because I want another dog. I do. And I asked, I said, do you think we should maybe get a girl dog? And he said no. Reason being, girl dogs have the same things that we have, right? They got periods and moods and all of that. And I don't know if I can have competing periods in the house. Like I don't know if I can do that, especially not with an animal. So, but to answer that question, at least from my lens, I like to do things that I enjoy. So I love candles. Like I will go to Bath and Body Works just to sniff the new collection. I may not buy a candle because it's not on sale, but I want to smell like what are the new flavors for the spring? What are the new flavors for fall? What are the new summer, winter? I love candles. Like that's my thing.
yeah.
Going out to like Home Goods or shop like home decor, it just does something to me. And I don't know if it's because we're in a new home now or what, but I just love tapping into making my house a home. So, and not to say that that's only a feminine trait, but that is my way of connecting and staying connected to me and essentially the woman who raised me, my mom. She's a Southern belle. She kept her house clean. She had food on the table every night. I don't cook every night. I cook for the week, but there is a meal on the table.
It sure is.
So just connecting in that way to myself and my roots is how I guess I stay true to my femininity. And I'm putting that in quotes because femininity can be subjective, but I do. That's just my way. And my husband and my son know this is what mommy likes to do. And mommy likes to go to Target to walk around and just look. Those are things that I like to do. So
or buy.
Yeah, and most of the time I walk out with a bag from the red store. That's what Eli calls Target, the red store.
The red store.
Yeah, I said, Mommy, are we going to the red store? Sure.
Sure, honey.
So yes,
I love that.
That was a really
I
good
love
question,
that.
though.
That was a good question. She stumped me with that one. I was like, ooh. And I was like, ooh, can I ask this on a podcast? She was like, sure. She listened. So, yeah. It's
Eli
awesome.
just walked in the room, so if y'all
Okay.
hear young
Hey, Eli. Well, this is the Real Mama Pod. There's been plenty of babies on here before. Yeah, but this is really good. Thank you so much, Keisha, for your time. We love you so much. And we're always here to support you.
Hey,
Thank
Keisha, if there is a mom or any woman or anybody who wants to connect with you and just maybe lean on and as she goes through her journey postpartum, how can she connect with you? You can share social media hashtags, email, whatever you'd like to share.
Um, yeah, on Instagram, my page is private, but I will accept, new friends that I see coming through. But it's Keish, Keish dot Michelle, with two L's. Or my email is k.faulknerjenkins at Gmail. So I'm hyphenated, baby.
All right.
All
And we'll put
right.
all that in the description box as well. So you guys can just click those links and you'll be able to get in contact with Keisha.
Yay. Thanks, Keisha. We love you.
Well, love you both too. So
All right. Until next time, mamas.
Bye. Thank you all so much for joining us at the Real Mama Pod.
Yes, every Thursday night. Y'all could be anywhere.
But you're hanging out with us.
Yes, and we love it. So, friend, where can they find you?
They can find me anywhere they like. I'm on Instagram at KendraFerg _. And I'm also on Facebook, Kendra Ferguson.
Okay.
What about you?
And you can reach me at DevGrace _ Instagram, TikTok,
Pinterest, Twitter,
Facebook, Twitter, all of that at the Real Mama
Pod.
Yeah, so make sure you follow us. If you want to learn more about Kendra and I, you can check out our website where we have Mama merch. Hey, you can see our little sweatshirts.
Right. Yeah. We are wearing our Mama merch.
Yeah, we have sweatshirts, hats, necklaces. We also have Rich Auntie merch. So you can purchase that at www.therealmamapod.com. We're so corny.
I know.